Hello. So this is a continuation of the live stream I made this morning. And this morning I found where I was. I achieved the purpose, but I said on there that I'm unlikely to find the correct tone for my circumstance at present. So in other words, where life gets a bit manic, I'm just going to see if I can find a place to rest the phone. I can get knocked off course. That basically has a different life, a different energy, a different vibration, a different mentality, and an emotion that go along with it. So all you have to do is think about a time when you were depressed or down or sad, and think about a time when you were elated or joyous. The tone in your voice is going to be very, very different. And that's where I am at present. I've lived one way, and all of a sudden I've realized, oh, actually, I'm over here. I've done everything as I should, but one or two small factors that are big factors change the dynamic entirely. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do is get past needing to find the correct tone at present, because it's tiresome and arduous task to keep doing that. And where I am, it's a case of so far down in the depths that in truth, finding a correct tone to the voice, which is important for me. It's the way I regulate my mentality. Is somewhat pointless. It's like trying to regulate your mentality at a time when it's important always, but it's at a time when it's secondary to life, secondary to what's taking place, and that needs to be acknowledged. And where I've been, basically it's a rock and a hard place situation. The rock is a case of mental, emotional suffering as a result of everything, and physical suffering. And where they're all encompassing and engrossing, you can see how if this is where you're at, all of a sudden the physical suffering wants to grab your attention, and it grabs your attention for 3, 4, 5 weeks. You'll be hard pressed to remember where you truly are with emotional, mental suffering. And that's sort of what's happened with me. And the physical pain has taken me off on a tangent and distracted me. And I half made a plan to get myself out of that circumstance. And that plan, as humble as you can imagine, because £1 trillion, £1 trillion, whatever currency, is enough to warp the mind. But for myself, as much as possible, I've been sorry, we're doing some fly spray at the same time. As much as possible, I've been grounded within the very real. It's definitely a real idea. And not only is it a real idea, it is, I say, £1 trillion idea. That is if it's as big as I believe it is. But if not 1 trillion, a multi-billion. And that's really negligible to my circumstance once it gets past 100,000. If I was to, for my circumstance right now, 100,000 or 200,000-300,000 is what, if you can imagine the strangeness to ever say the necessity for such a large amount of money to bring spirit to a depleted life. And that's what it's for. I've lost attachment to materialism. I've lost attachment to love. I've lost attachment to the world, to people. And I've been arguably blessed with a multi-billion, £1 trillion idea. And I know that's real. And the peculiarities of my circumstance are that it's shameful to say, not for myself, but the circumstances that are life on planet Earth in 2022, that someone could be put in this place that they require a large amount of money to bring them back to life in terms of just spirit. won't go into the details of why. But it is the case. And lying here in pain, as I have been, I made the decision, right, I'm going to do this, where I probably wouldn't have, or I probably would have required a large deal of space and time to really contemplate, is it worthwhile, is it beneficial, is it the best thing for the planet? But in that place, I didn't really have a choice. It was a case of I either do it and mitigate my suffering that really creates suffering for others, or I don't, which was impossible, and I continue my own suffering. If you've ever been in pain, think about a time that you've been in real pain, what you'd give to end that pain. So in other words, I've been up against the wall with pain, and this is the only medication or possible medication, possible resolve I've had as an answer, as the solution. So I started listening to the live streams a few months ago, and I was talking about this idea when it came to me. And I heard myself 2 months ago, and I heard myself from that different place 2 months ago. And then I looked at my life, and then I looked at the pain, and you almost realise that the pain is secondary to everything else, because of what you're suffering on this side. And today I've been trying to recalibrate myself from here to here, because this side would medicate the pain. I don't need £1 trillion. But on this side, what I'm talking about is levels of trauma, levels of terror, levels of confusion to life, that one shouldn't be able to stand a chance to be alive to. I'm almost certain this side, if it was inflicted upon me suddenly, would cause brain hemorrhages and blood clots, and the body would shut down. The body's psychosomatic. In other words, if the mind is troubled to that extent, it will create disease in the body, to my understanding as a healer, where the body would die. But nonetheless, I am in this peculiar, there's quite a few flies, place. And where I'm at is I want to take the simple route right now. I want to do the simplest thing, because £1 trillion is medication. But how long will that medication last? Maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 10 years, maybe longer. It's a type of medication that isn't going to deal with the root cause. It will make me, as money does in this world, and as a result of where and the reasons to acquire that money in the first place, almost certainly well, I think you know what that could do to somebody. So I'm looking at this side rather than here, and I'm thinking, since I'm in this peculiar place where I'm able to see and compartmentalize these two very, very serious and severe places a human being can find themselves in, I'm considering seeing if I can navigate myself from here to here, because ultimately this exists anyway. Ultimately, I'm a slave to both. Ultimately, I could get up and try and make however much money, and this could become a little bit more real than my brain is currently allowing me to see. And if that happens, £1 trillion isn't going to stand a chance. So really and truly, the only option I have is to learn to breathe without air. That's what it would take, that sort of level of mentality, to be able to live over here. And I've come back from the shops just now. I pushed myself to go since I'm trying to navigate myself over this side. If I was sitting in pain, the shops wouldn't have been an option today. I don't know if you can rack your brains around how that's feasible and possible. And I've come back from the shops and I'm trying to rest in this side, because the pain isn't an option anymore to rest in. There is no rest on this side. I'm trying to rest over here, trying to see it in clarity again. And I only touched it before. It's a huge, massive air balloon, the biggest air balloon ever since, added on top of what I've managed to touch. And I've got to be able to live in that. And it's terror, it's trauma, it's depression, suffocation to all of those elements, total confusion to the outside world. Forget about hunger to life on any level. True hunger, true desire, There's nothing. It's just a want to not exist. And to medicate the pain, I've been trying to, well, I haven't been trying, but life has pushed me in the direction of doing stuff. Okay, the pain is like this now. Can I push myself to come over this side of where I'm sitting, and then I'll try and shift back, and then can I do some tattooing? Can I do any DIY? Shall I go and make a coffee? And I'm not able to do a lot, but I've been doing. And on this side, doing is pointless. And I've come back and I've sat down, and my mind is all over the place with all the different things, and I'm not even at the level where I was able to touch this before. It's a lot before, but I know I'm there. My senses are lying to me, but I know I'm there already. I know I'm inside it. My eyes are rolling and I'm trying to focus, and nothing's quite appropriate to do. Even this live stream isn't appropriate, really, on most levels, but it's the closest thing I can do at the moment to find any oxygen. And I'm very much alone, because in this place, as I said, that detachment, that confusion to the outside world really does make you alone. Picking up the phone and calling somebody, sending a text, it's pointless. It's like you can see what you're trying to do. You're trying to breathe in this place. But given my own personal circumstance of where I am, I'm not going to find that with a text or a phone call. But nonetheless, speaking can be helpful, especially if your brain doesn't work, to be able to think. So I'm just going to talk through what it might take for me to be able to live on this side. What the mental health system has done, and it's not the right thing to do, not when you're a mental health system and you're working by rules and code, but it's understandable on a human level, is try to make, because this is why people have mental health problems and end up in mental health hospitals a lot of the time. is try to teach one that the option, the solution, is to just leave the personal, emotional reason that it's a problem in the first place. So in other words, imagine your wife's just cheated on you with your best friend and you loved her for everything that you understood of love. And you are a heart-based person. That's going to tear you apart to the extent that you would consider murder. But you end up in a mental health hospital. And you're not going to murder anybody in hospital. And they try to teach you just to leave the problem that is a problem alone on an emotional level and get on with life. And it's good me speaking this because I'm hearing what I have to do. And on a level you shut down, and on a level you have to bring the shutters down, kill yourself emotionally for the sake of your own life, for the sake of others' lives, so you don't murder somebody. It's all you can do in this world, sort of thing. And inside, I'm relaying that to my own situation in the background, and my insides are being ripped apart. They're like, no, I can't do this. You're mad. It's madness. Why would I ever do that? And that's the truth. It's utter madness. Why would anybody ever do that? And then you look at the outside world, and you have to admit the outside world is mad. We're all in prison the moment we're born without even knowing it. For what it does to a human's mind if they wish to love and breathe and grow from a child to an adult. And remember that journey. Because to remember that journey, you're in touch with your childhood emotions. But then something like a partner cheating on you happens, which happens occasionally to people. And all of a sudden that journey, not possible. And that journey is what it means to be human. So you're being asked not to be human in a very short space of time. Of course your insides are going to tell you you're mad. You're never going to heal from it. That's the truth. But for the sake of harmony, for the sake of not going out and murdering someone and finding yourself in prison because your wife cheated on you, that you loved, and you've just been human about circumstances, but finding yourself in prison, you could argue is going to be a little bit more healing to the original pain on one level, but it's not as harmonious. And that's what I'm really searching for. And this is her helping and hurting very, very much. Because the guide to be able to live without air is to aim for harmony. In those moments when my body is shutting down, when my brain is realizing the extent of the world, just aim for harmony. My uncle has shown me what that looks like, and I've not been able to understand his mentality in the past few weeks because I did something quite shameful. I won't go into details. Very, very shameful. And my uncle was, I wouldn't say able to forgive. Forgiveness isn't the point. But he was able to be my uncle still. And in my time of need, he was able to be there to support me, possibly more than he has done in the past. God knows what he must have felt inside of himself for what I did. Let's just say it touches a very, very sensitive nerve of a human being, like what we just discussed before. But I am innocent within that. I don't know if it's possible for your wife to have an affair with your best friend and be innocent. I don't know if my uncle needed to go to the level of mind to think, oh, okay, Gabriel's having a hard time, he's been put up against, done this action, not because of anything to me or what I did. Being alive, he's been put under certain circumstances that pull these disgusting, dark, inhuman behaviors out of people. And it was as if he didn't even have to think about it. He was just programmed to be harmonious. So how to live without air is simple. Be harmonious without any thoughts. But like the 1 trillion pounds, and knowing my past, being harmonious without thought and reflection is not a long-term medication. And I'm going to use this time. It might be a good opportunity to log off now if anybody has listened for 35 minutes. Because I'm not going to press end and be able to have a little think for myself. I'm going to use this time and get my head as clear as possible. What makes sense to me is, first of all, I need to bring my mentality from this side to this side, from the pain that's constricting to over here, because that's the reality. This side, you just forget about the pain. Pain is secondary to the severity on this side. As I said, I'm pretty certain the body will die instantly if it realizes the full complexities that I am in. And I'm sure many other people find themselves, like what we talked about before, of your wife cheating on you, having an affair. It will drive someone to murder. I'm not going to murder anybody. But it's getting to those levels. And in that place, you could say somebody loses their mind, but they don't. They're on a path of being human. The human mind can only take so much when it's human. We can create an artificial environment for it to enter for the sake of harmony. But if that individual that we talked about went out and murdered someone and found themselves in prison, could you believe that they would be more human than, say, Bruce Lee, who was an emotionless individual his whole life because he had a set mission? So in a way, I'm being asked to become superhuman. Superhuman isn't the right word. Super alive isn't the right word because you're not really alive, but a super being. And I know I have no choice now. I have no choice. I have to become a super being. The question is how? Because to come over to this side, the thought of making £1 trillion is a little bit like a dirty pile of washing in the deepest, darkest depression. You'd just rather burn the pile of washing than wash it because it's easier. And you're an honest human being, and where you are in that deepest, darkest depression isn't fair and just to being human when there are 8 billion other fucking humans on the planet. And the question enters your mind, what the fuck are we all doing when we're allowing me to live like this, and me living like this isn't isolated. Just look at the lesser unfortunate part of the world that still live in poverty, still live in famine, countries that have been ripped apart by war. God knows what other injustices take place on the planet. And there's 8 fucking billion of us. And for some reason, I won't go into details and point fingers, but we're happy enough to allow this madness to continue. So I need to bring myself over to this side, and if I'm over here, well, I think I'm going to need to be doing something, but what? And I think what the plan is going to be is to keep things really, really simple. I've got a few things that I need to do for my life on the boat. I live on a boat that are pressing, and it's to let my life go to that and live over this side for a little while, doing what I have to when I feel that urge to do something because I can't breathe, just to slow that urge down. Maybe sit in it for a while, have a smoke, have a cup of coffee, and watch it. Go for a walk in the park. I have to be totally attachmentless in this place. And as for that dirty pile of washing, I know it's going to be I don't know anything about it. What I know is it's been half fun starting to write that code down. It's been half fun thinking about it, the project, what it means. And it's worthwhile to explore how that can bring anything to where I'm being asked to live. And I think if I keep it at that, I stand the chance of a shot in a billion of life, instead of being certain for something a lot worse. So that's the plan. £1 trillion, or learning to breathe without air. Who will win? I don't know. I can't really do this right now in the moment. I can't really go and make £1 trillion right now in the moment. What I know to do, I say what I know to do, what I've just made a plan to do is start to do both. And like I said, neither is a real medication. They're only halfway houses. So I think that answers the question.